hello everybody, and welcome to the Gaming Lounge Podcast, episode 90. Once again, I'm your host, Sebastian, and as always, I'm joined by Dory. How you doing, Dory?
I'm awesome because Resident Evil 9 is awesome. Now, my dog is going to be in the background for most of this podcast, so I'm sure she'll have something to say at some point. But Resident Evil 9 dares to ask the question, what would you do if you were a zombie? I think I would be making terrible, terrible zombie puns to myself over and over again, annoying everyone around me. Leon would take me out in an instant. I can't be chewing the scenery. Only Leon could be chewing the scenery. Xena, come here. I got to take her sweater off. But anyway, we are going to be talking about more than just sweaters and chewing scenery. We've got lots to talk about today, including very frustrating to me, even though I don't even care about the franchise, Bluepoint and Bloodborne remake stuff. Pokemon came out with some news, and there was an IGN Fan Fest, which I kind of watched. I watched most of it in terms of the gaming news. And then I also, of course, we're going to talk about Resident Evil 9.
Alright, so let's start with the first topic of the night, which is the Bluepoint and Bloodborne remake. As we talked about last week, Bluepoint is getting closed down by Sony, and unfortunate to put even more the dagger in. We got more news about Bluepoint potentially working on a Bloodborne remake that got turned down by From Software. So Jason Schreier of Bloomberg reported that Bluepoint Games once pitched a remake of Bloodborne. They wanted to give it a high-end remake treatment that was similar to the Demon's Souls remake. Bloodborne obviously being a very beloved IP of PlayStation. Sony technically owns, not From Software. Sony owns the Bloodborne IP, but they just want to honor Miyazaki. They didn't want to make a game despite his approval. So they requested it. Shuhei Yoshida, when he worked there during a kind of funny interview last year, said Miyazaki was interested in remaking a Bloodborne game, but they were just too busy to do so, and he doesn't want anyone else to touch it. So that's why they didn't want Bluepoint to do it. They didn't feel like if they're not making it, then nobody should make it. So, like I said, Sony is honoring that request because even though Sony owns the IP and they can make a remake no matter what, From Software has no say on that. They're still, out of respect and a great relationship with Miyazaki, they're not making it. And unfortunately, it's a big what if and a big what could have been moment since we've been asking for a Bloodborne remake forever. At the very least, we just want a PC version or a remastered version that plays in 60 frames. Bloodborne is one of the greatest Souls games ever made. It has some of the best atmosphere, scenery. It's very unique. A lot of Souls games have this, they're in China or they're very fantasy oriented. This was the only game that was like a gothic 1800s vibe to it with guns and werewolves and creepy monsters, and it's such a unique experience. That's why people love it so much, including me. It's my top 20 games of all time. And I just really just want a 60 frames per second version. And unfortunately, of all the Souls games, it's the one stuck on PS4 hardware from 2015. So it's very frustrating. And this is just, like I said, sticking the dagger in even more on the Bluepoint news, and very frustrating. So Dory, what do you think about this news?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not going to pretend to be Bluepoint's strongest warrior again, and I'm not. Y'all know that I'm not super into Dark Souls or from games. This story really frustrates me because, as I wrote elsewhere, I understand it's Miyazaki's baby, right? I respect that. I understand that it's probably his favorite game that they've done, and it's a lot of people's favorite. So I understand that he wants to make sure it gets remade faithfully and fully. There are rumors that were not happy with what Bluepoint did to Demon's Souls, although I find that questionable because I mean it sold really well, or from what I know, and it was critically successful if nothing else. So I mean I can't really understand that, but if that's true, I think that's weird.
There is a sphere of people who were unhappy with the remake because they made changes to the way where the monsters looked and things like that. They changed to their own vision instead of how it originally looked. So there was a good amount of people upset about that, but I don't know how upset From Software themselves were. That might have just been a fan thing.
Yeah, it's all rumors. But yeah, like I said, no investment in Souls games. But they've had over 10 years, right? Bloodborne came out in 2015. They have had over 10 years to do something else for a very critically and commercially successful game. And like you said, they haven't ported it to 60. They haven't, got a remaster or a remake. They haven't done 60 FPS they haven't done anything, right? And Bluepoint at this point was a very successful studio. They did the Shadow of the Colossus. Obviously, they did Demon Souls. They have some of their own games, but hadn't done an original game in a while. But still, they had done another property of theirs, which was largely financially and critically successful. And I just don't understand. Like at the end of the day, I understand that Miyazaki says like, "Oh, I don't have time for it right now to really dedicate to it." But like, I can't imagine that he wasn't like co-producing on Bluepoint. Like, I can't imagine he didn't have final say or some kind of advisory role. I don't understand why you couldn't just do that all over again. Miyazaki doesn't need to like leave his wife and kids to like make a Bloodborne remake. He can hand it off to someone else. But yeah, it's kind of like to me this is kind of frustrating in like a dev way. Like I wouldn't have played it, but it's kind of like put up or shut up, dude. Like, are you going to make the game or are you not going to make the game? Because, like, you're turning down the studio, and now it's like, well, now they've been shuttered because nothing else. They even say, and Schreier says this, that the finances made sense. It financially made sense to do this. It would have sold like hotcakes, even if it was garbage, which it wouldn't have been. It's Bluepoint. And if they still didn't do it. And it's very upsetting to me. Just because it means people ended up losing their jobs, just because Miyazaki doesn't know how to, I don't know, doesn't know how to share, basically. But again, I understand it's very widely lauded. It's Miyazaki's baby. I get that. I understand being possessive over it. I still think there could have been a compromise here that wouldn't have resulted in Bluepoint being shuttered, but it is what it is. I'm not just blaming From, of course. Sony's the one who ultimately has the pen and paper and is the one who shuttered Bluepoint. But yeah, a new kind of wrinkle to this to make me even more upset about this. So yeah, I don't know. It just the industry at this point aggravates me so much that I'm upset about something that I wouldn't have played from a studio I almost never really cared about. In a franchise that I never really play either. So that's just where we're at, I guess.
Yeah, and even worse is Bluepoint never got to make their own game after Blast Factor in 2006.
Yeah,
That
I
was
knew it had been like a couple of decades or something.
that was the only time they got to make their own game. And that's when they first started. And even that was published by Sony. All right, so let's move on to some more positive news, which is the Pokemon Generation 10 reveal, which is the only thing we're going to talk about from the PlayStation Showcase. I mean the Pokemon Showcase, because the Pokemon Showcase really had nothing for either of us. It had like trading card game stuff and Pokemon Sleep, and just nothing I particularly use or do. So they basically spoiled their own show when they revealed that they're doing Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green as ports for the Switch and Switch 2 that you can play for $20. And that would have been a cool reveal at the show, but they leaked it for a couple days early for some reason. So that kind of took the wind out of the sails of the showcase. But with that said, the Generation 10 reveal was really good, and people are very excited for it. From what people saw, it's Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves. It's the next mainline game. It's not a spin-off or anything. It's the full-on next generation of Pokemon. The setting looks like it takes place on a tropical island surrounded by the ocean. There's lots of beaches and cliffs and jungles and caves and open water. The vibe is very travel and explore instead of just moving town to town. It feels a lot more adventurous and outdoorsy compared to the recent regions. I'm curious how this game's structure is going to be. Is there going to be gems at all? Like how much exploration is going to be? They showed the 3 new starters, which is Brout, the grass type, which is like a Angry Bird. Pombon, which is a fire Pomeranian. And then you have Gekua, who's like a gecko water type. And she looks very sassy. And I think the starters look really good. What'd you think of the starters?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have already been memeing about this, but it was kind of funny how they all look like Angry Birds, basically, or some variety of Angry Birds.
The grass type,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, looks very cute. I've not been shy about my lack of enthusiasm of Pokemon over the last few years. I think the last game I played at this point was the Diamond Remaster, which, for the record, I thought was great and I had an awesome time with. But the open world kind of stuff doesn't really. I think it's an idea that sounded awesome in theory, and I understand why everyone wanted it. But now that we've actually gotten it, I'm like, this isn't really something I want personally. But that's okay because lots of other people obviously are very happy with it, and that's more important than just catering to my needs. But yeah, they were cute. They looked cute. That's what I can say about them.
I'm very excited that we're getting a Fire Pomeranian. That's gonna be my starter, of course. I've picked the Fire starter every generation since 1998. Like it's a tradition, 10 generations in a row. If I was a gym leader, I'd be a Fire gym leader. It's my favorite type in Pokemon. I had the Fire deck when I played the trading card game. So the gameplay direction, as Dory mentioned, is very open world. It looks very less linear than other Pokemon games. I've been playing Fire Red again, and yeah, it's very linear, right? You go from we go city, gym, follow a path, fight a bunch of trainers, new city, gym, so on and so forth. This game looks very different than that. Now, how it's gonna play, we just don't know, right? I'm gonna imagine it's gonna be traditional in terms of turn-based mechanics, but again, we don't know. There's bigger areas to roam, as we said, and then there's even underwater sections in this game. You can go underwater. That was really cool. And the biggest thing with this game, and the biggest reason people are hyped, is that it looks like it was made with actual effort and not made it during someone's lunch break. Uh, made any because like the Pokemon games are always made like in a year, and it just feels like it's rushed. And Game Freak has like no time. This game feels like a genuine next step for the series. The water looked amazing, and the frame rate looked better, and the graphics looked better. It wasn't like perfect, but you could definitely tell it was a huge step up from the last game, which had a lot of issues. This looks like a true Switch 2 exclusive. It looks like the next step for the franchise, and that's what this franchise desperately needed in terms of the games. Obviously, Pokemon is as popular as ever, and it's never going to change. It's the biggest media franchise in the world, but the games really needed a little kick in the butt, and it'll light a fire up its ass to take a next step. I mean, it's been stagnant. They're just going by. They're just going through the motions and selling. They make money even no matter what. They sell millions of copies with minimal effort. That was a Game Freak fault. Nah, it's probably more Nintendo putting unrealistic deadlines on them. I would probably assume, but either way, it's been a problem. And then this one looks like a legit next step. All right. One disappointment I had with it was it's coming out next year. I was thinking maybe like because it's the 30th anniversary, and I would thought like this game would come out November of this year. It'd make no more sense, right? It'd be a big holiday
Right.
game. But with that said, at least they get to take their time and no reason to rush. So I appreciate
Yep.
that. So not a big deal, but definitely something that kind of soured it a little bit for me. So overall, my impression is bigger world, very pretty to look at. Seems like there's more freedom. Definitely a strong ocean nature vibe to it. Very I was getting like Hawaii vibes from it.
Yeah.
It felt very like the indie game Chia where
Yeah.
so I was kind of getting that vibe from it. I kind of relate to it. I live in South Florida. South Florida is not really that kind of vibe. It's more of like a beach town. South Florida is anyway. It's more like Miami. People think of like GTA 6. This is giving me more of like a living on an island vibe. So I'm curious what this is based on. But either way, I think it looks really cool. I'm excited for it. I'm a big Pokemon fan. I was sold no matter what. I mean, obviously you see all the plushes behind me and this posters and stuff. Pokemon's top 3 franchise for me. So very, very excited. That was pretty much the only announcement from that showcase that really excited me. So yeah, that was worth mentioning. All right, now let's transition to the IGN Fan Fest, which I skimmed through, but there was enough for me to talk about with Dory for the podcast. So
Yeah.
there's a few games and a couple movie trailers that I saw. There was like a One Piece trailer for the live action season 2, which was cool. But we're only gonna talk about the games and Mortal Kombat because it's a movie game. Excuse me, yeah, it's a movie based on a game. So we'll go in order on the list. So we'll start with Samson. Was it? How do you even say it?
A Tindleston.
Tindleston story. So Dory, you start with this one.
Sure. So if you really miss Max Payne, but you want more melee combat, I've got great news for you. This game is only apparently $25. It is done by Liquid Swords, who is a rapper formerly of Wu-Tang Clan. So that's incredible. So there's a preview from IGN from which I'll be bringing a lot of my notes from, done by Ryan McCaffrey. It looks rough. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's definitely gonna be playable and probably enjoyable, but there were definitely some moments where combat met contact, and the contact did not go the way it should have gone in terms of like at one point your character punches this guy left, and he teleports right, and then goes up against the wall. It's like some Dragon Ball Z shit, but this is very gritty and realistic, so that should not be happening. So little things. Maybe mild things is more appropriate to say like that. Stuff that shouldn't be happening. Now, this was a trailer. It's not coming out for another few months, so there is time to polish it up. They did the official release date. Basically, you are April 8th. There we go.
That's next month.
In like a little over a month, month and a week. But yeah, you are on the hunt on the run from debt collectors, and you are trying to basically kick everybody's ass so you can make money. So it's kind of got like a Sleeping Dogs, Max Payne kind of driver aesthetic. You drive around a lot. You even do kind of like burnout, takedown things, where you can crash your car into other cars and they'll do a takedown. It's not obviously as cinematic or as colorful as it is in Burnout. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. The IGN preview is worth the watch if you want to know more. Ryan tended to be pretty positive on it. One of the big things is that the game is broken up into days, and you are not able to. It's kind of like Persona in a way. You all your actions take place in the afternoon, evening, or night, because your guy is not really a morning person apparently. So he every time he does an action, a particular like a side quest or a main quest or I don't know something, it takes up time from the day, and so you're not going to be able to pay off your debt in one day. It's the course of a whole game, probably like a 10-hour game. I don't know. Yeah, it looked cool. I don't know that it's for me personally, just because open world brawler is not something that super appeals to me. But I can't help but note that this is really cool that like rappers are, getting into video games. Notable rappers, I guess I should say. Of course, we'll always have 50 Cent. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. Seb, did you watch the trailer? Did you see anything that interested you about this?
I did watch the trailer, and what I got from it is that it looks like typical Unreal Engine 5 issues, stutters and
Yes.
bad hair physics, and character models look like ragdolls when they die, and it looked very cheap. This game screams 6 out of 10. I'll probably have a good time with it if it's short and the gameplay's fun, but I'm not expecting anything good out of it, honestly. It looks kind of mid, is what I got out of it. I'm not very impressed with it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I'm definitely feeling 6 or 7 out of 10 too. Yeah. So we'll move on from that to Stage Tour, developed by Red Octane, the former devs of the original Red Octane, but now they're like Red Octane Games LLC, so it's different. But yeah, Stage Tour is basically Guitar Hero for a new generation. It is and I'm quoting from the Steam page, a rhythm action game that blends familiar, accessible, note highway gameplay, never knew it was called that, with exciting modern twists. It's poised to rekindle the flame of plastic instrument rhythm gaming with new features and modes, diverse bandmates and instruments, competitive depth, and seasonal events. So, yeah, I mean, graphically, this game is not going to wow you. It looks pretty weird and off, But it's not about that. And also, Guitar Hero always had weird, and Rock Band always had weird looking characters. So I don't really care. It's not about that. It's about the highway note thing. It's about the soundtrack. Obviously, I think the trailer had Static X, which is cool. Game from a band from Seven Eyes childhood when they were huge. And I think they were like in pro wrestling and stuff like that in terms of their music. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. If this game's actually good and has a really good soundtrack, I might pick it up because yeah, I miss these kind of games. I loved Rock Band 2. I loved Guitar Hero 2 and Guitar Hero 3, of course. I never played Rock Band 3. I was kind of out of it at that point, but yeah, I really loved these games as a kid.
Yeah, like, this game comes down to the soundtrack and how well the game plays. Visually, it kind of looks awful, and character
Yeah,
models look really stiff. But it looks like a game from 2005, honestly. But
yeah,
it's all. But again, you don't play these games for the visuals. You play them for the gameplay, and basically what it comes down to: how well is the soundtrack? How good is the soundtrack? And how good does it play?
yeah,
So
pretty much.
I'm like, I'm interested, but I'm not like super excited or anything about it.
Yeah, yeah, I feel that. All right, on to the next. Another thing from Seven Eyes childhood, backyard baseball, making a comeback. This is not the 2001 version. This is a brand new version. Now, I wish they were doing soccer because I'd be all over that. I loved backyard soccer as a kid. I played soccer as a kid, so of course, very biased. But it says a new backyard baseball game is launching in summer 2026. Perfect time for it. The timeless classic is leveling up with an all new game modes, new ways to play, brand new features, and more. It's the game you love, reimagined for a whole new era. Get ready for backyard baseball like you've never experienced it before. So, yeah, I played the backyard soccer game when I was a kid. I actually didn't go back. I kept going back and forth about whether I was going to play it again now that it's available on Steam, but I ultimately didn't. I just felt like whatever was in my head about how good the game was when I was a kid just wouldn't live up to my, it wouldn't live up to that. But I've heard they're still pretty decent, and most of them have positive reviews on Steam, so that's something. But obviously, a lot of it is also like 90s, 2000s kids being like, I remember this when I was a kid. So if they do this for soccer, I'm very interested.
Yeah, this. I know I was negative for the last two, but this one was definitely gets my interest because I grew up with backyard baseball as well, and it seems like they switched to 3D now. No,
Yeah.
was it always 3D? Like the newer is there newer games 3D?
It was always 3D, yeah, just not as visually appealing.
Yeah, this seems like a step up, and we didn't get to see any gameplay or anything, but you know what you're getting into. These games are very
Yeah.
fun. I'd rather play this than MLB the show. So
Yeah. Same. All right, another game, and I'll talk about it during Steam Next Fest, so I'll keep it pretty short. Is Celestial Return? Uh, it's basically a disco like. It is noir cyberpunk disco vibes. Your dice are your ammo, so you have a limited amount of dice that you can use for conversations. Seb and I are both interested in this game. You have different voices in your head. You're a detective or an ex-detective. I can't remember. And you are investigating a bunch of suicide cases.
yes,
There are, yeah, and then there's like some supernatural elements as well going on. I wrote about them on my blog this week, Second Chance and Once More. And yeah, it's really cool. It's got really funky vibes. The demo was only an hour short, an hour long, but it was fun, and I liked it. You basically auto fail if you don't have any dice, so you've got to manage your dice effectively and smartly.
all right, say it with me, everyone. Dory game. This is the definition of a Dory game.
Yep.
Also, insert Disco Elysium comparison here, but
Yes.
that's basically what interests me about it. Is that I like these kind of games with all the reading and the RPG elements. I'm excited. I'm interested in the world, very cyberpunk world. Yeah, like it's my kind of game too. So more Dory, I would say, than me, but
Yeah.
definitely very interested in this.
Yeah. I'm there day one. There's a cool top-down element to it too when you're on the
Yeah.
map, and then you'll have random encounters. You buy dice, or you get them from allies, or you do side quests or the main quest to get more dice. That way you can succeed at various checks.
Yeah.
So yes, very me. Although that is not the most Dory game we were going to talk about today. We were going to talk about a game that is somehow even more for me than that is. But we'll get to that later. This next game, I mentioned it mostly because I thought Seb might like it, and I could be wrong. But Monowave is a whimsical puzzle adventure platformer about the humane power of emotions, or the human power of emotions, I'm not sure. Explore beautiful worlds and empathize with quirky spirits to restore harmony. So I saw this and I was like, this looks like a game that Seb would at least try or at least look at. I don't know if you watched the trailer, but it looks right up your alley to me.
Yes, I wrote this game on the list. It interests me because the visuals mainly. It's just very unique looking with this like very neon 2D. It's like chalk. I don't know.
It's like I don't know if you ever watched the Nickelodeon show, but it reminds me of Chalk Zone.
Yeah.
I loved that show as a kid, so it reminded me of that.
I just remember the theme song, but yeah. That's the vibe I was getting to. It's just a matter of how the game plays, and like I'm kind of burned out from Metroidvanias, honestly though.
Yeah.
But
I think it's more puzzle platformer vibes. At least that's what it says on Steam.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. Maybe they're going for a Metroidvania as well. It does say exploration, so it's possible.
It looks like a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Comes out this year on Steam and Nintendo only.
Interesting. Next game, a lot of people were giving them, says it was giving them Dear Esther vibes. I don't think I've played that one. But this is called Will, Follow the Light. It has narrative exploration. The Steam page says, dive into a realistic single-player first-person journey through the harsh northern latitudes as you sail endless waters, searching for a way back to your loved ones. Will you follow the light? I did not play the demo, but I heard complaints about the sailing mechanics. My dog's being very needy, so that's why I'm at an odd angle. Haven't played the demo, so I don't know how it is, but it reminded me of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, which I liked. I thought was a great game, so it gave me some of those vibes, so that's why I put it on the list. Yeah. It's first person, it's narrative, it's single player, so some of those things are stuff Seb and I are both in, so figured I'd throw it a mention.
Yeah, I skimmed the demo on YouTube, and it's a very slow walking simulator puzzle game. The visuals are incredible to look at. It's very slow. It's a vibes game. It's gonna be for a very small audience. That's something I would play when it's on sale. I think, depending on how long it is. If it's like a couple hour game and you just the vibes, then I'll check it out.
Yeah. So, next game. So this is Vermin Steel. I'm gonna be real. I only mention this just because it's proudly and loudly saying you can fight fascists, and I think that's awesome. But yeah, you are a bird with a broadsword kicking thousands of fascists so hard they fly into the sun. Come on, how am I not going to mention a game like that? Joined by a hoe-wielding badger, a mouse with a frying pan, and all the Molotovs you could chuck. You'll resist occupation, defend the helpless, and push the Vermin Steel back under the rock they crawled from. Right, Xena? But yeah. She's so needy today. But yeah, it looks fun. I probably won't even buy it, but ew, gross. But it looked fun. I liked the art style. I liked how chaotic the vibes were. Disgusting. And yeah, it was just cool. It was just a cute, cool-looking game. I just wanted to give it a shout-out because it's proudly anti-fascist, just like me.
Yeah, the game looks pretty fun. Definitely low budget.
Yes.
Probably not going to be that great, but the frame rate was struggling.
Yeah, it was. I saw some of that. I was like, oh, I don't know about this one. Folks.
So yeah, it's okay. It's whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, the next thing I promise is more exciting. I know we've got a couple duds. Ninja Gaiden 4 Two Masters DLC. So much shit came out of the IGN Fan Fest. I didn't even know this happened until I looked up the Fan Fest itself. And I was like, whoa, wait a second, because I love Ninja Gaiden 4. I mean, it's got its problems, but I overall really had a good time. Can you stop eating her slippers? Anyway.
It was in your top 10.
We were excited. What's that?
It was in your top 10.
It was in my top 10. Great game. We are excited to announce that this is from Team Ninja directly from the Steam news page. That Ninja Gaiden 4, the Two Masters DLC, will be available at midnight UTC on March 4th, so that's really coming up. The new expansion adds brand new story chapters to the Ninja Gaiden 4 saga, along with fresh challenges for the most skilled warriors among you, including Abyssal Road, a brutal new survival mode designed to push your masteries to the limit. I probably will not be playing that. But they are adding a couple of new chapters, which I will probably play. So I'm excited. I've honestly been thinking about canceling my Xbox Game Pass, but this gives me a reason to use it because I don't have this game on Steam. I think I played it on Game Pass. Yeah, pretty sure. So yeah, we'll see how it is. We'll see how much content they give. But at least one comment, one of the most highly upvoted comments, was like, "Yeah, this is how you do a DLC. There's a lot of content here for a good price. I think it's like $20. I could be wrong."
Yeah, this is cool. It depends on how much. It's $20, but how much content there is. Like, is it a couple? Like, is it like an hour long? Is it 5 hours long?
Yeah.
That's just. Is it a wait for a sale DLC? You also put Until Then After Images DLC, but you skipped over that one. Did you want to talk about that?
I did.
Yeah.
I did not even notice. Did I skip over it? Where is it?
Between Stage Tour and Backyard Baseball.
Oh, wow, I missed that.
At sea.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool. So Until Then After Images, I love Until Then. We've talked about it once or twice. One of my favorite narrative games of all time. I played it for the first time last year.
Yeah.
Rocketed it up to one of my favorite narrative games. It is but this is a DLC, so this takes place after the main adventure, featuring characters from the original years later. The trailer did make me emotional, and none of you can prove that it did. So there are no cameras, no voice recording, so
Yeah.
I'm in the clear. But yeah, seriously, this looks really good. The dev said that it brings 2 new riveting chapters following our beloved characters Sophia and Mark. Sophia returns home to memories she left behind, and Mark meets a new lover and old friend. So they explore what it means to carry on living in the presence of absence. There are going to be fresh mini games from tarot to baking, interacting with the engaging in-game phone apps for dating and video content. I know that sounds terrible, but they do a really good job. And run into beloved characters, old and new. Oh man, if there's a certain character, I'm going to cry on the spot. And yeah, 2 new chapters of gameplay. They are not quite ready to share a date yet, but you can, follow them and wish list it and all that stuff. Actually, you can't wish list it. It's not even up, but you can follow them on socials to keep up to date with it. So yes, ironically, I did not mention this, even though it's probably my most hyped thing that they announced at IGN Fan Fest.
All right. The next thing that was very interesting to me was the Marvel Maximum Collection, which is a bunch of older games that I played on an emulator back in the 90s, personally. And it has X-Men, the arcade game, which I played. I think I beat it when I was a kid. There's Captain America and the Avengers. There's Spider-Man, X-Men, Arcade's Revenge, Spider-Man and Venom, Maximum Carnage. I played that one. I remember that. There's Silver Surfer, and and there's a bunch of museum stuff, like things you can check out. Like it has like artwork and concept art from these games and things like that. This is like from the 90s Marvel era. That's the era I got into comic books and Marvel. That's my favorite era of Marvel, personally. And I'm very excited for this. This is day one for me, for sure. It says you get 13 titles. That was just some games that I read. So 13 titles in this collection. That's amazing. I'm a sucker for this because I think game preservation is very important, and it's very accessible now. You can play it on Steam or wherever anytime. So I think this is great. I'm very excited for this. Any interest in this?
Yeah, I mean they're beat 'em ups from 30 years ago. Nothing for me. Nothing for me, unfortunately. Although I game preservation wise, I respect it and appreciate it.
Speaking of beat 'em ups, we also got He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Dragon Pearl of Destruction, which I've kept my eye on for a while. Comes out next month. It has 12 action-packed stages, and you can play as He-Man, She-Ra, Man-at-Arms, and Teela, and it's play with your friends and it's co-op. It's a beat 'em up, 2D beat 'em up, 80s nostalgia. This genre is very popular right now in the gaming space. They're grabbing a lot of 80s and 90s IPs and making it a genre. I beat the Power Rangers one this year. That was really good. Not amazing, but really good. They made the Ninja Turtles one, of course, based on the 80s cartoon, and this is just another one now based on the 80s He-Man cartoon. I love beat 'em ups. This is my genre, and I'm probably day one for this. I'm not a giant He-Man fan. I'm a '90s kid, but I have watched a good amount of He-Man. I watched the Netflix series. I watched the reboot that they did in in the 2000s on Cartoon Network and things like that. So I know what it's going on and everything. So I'm definitely interested. But this is definitely going for the '80s vibe with the music and everything. This is clearly an '80s nostalgia tribute. This is gonna appeal to like older people for sure. The art style looks really good. It really goes for the '80s look. So I'm not even gonna ask Dory if she has any interest because I know she doesn't. So let's move on to Lego Batman
Although,
Legacy.
if they ever make a She-Ra and the Princesses of Power video game, I would be there day one. I love She-Ra. I still have my She-Ra and Catra T-shirt from years ago. So
You can play
I
as
would
her.
definitely be there if they did that. What?
Can play as her.
Oh, well, cool. But
Yeah.
it's probably the '80s version, right? Not the
Yeah.
Netflix version. Yeah, lame.
Is there a difference? I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure she's like taller and buffer and older and stuff, and like, which is fine, but it's like it's not the version
Yeah.
I connected with. So
All right. Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. One of my most anticipated games of the year. It looks like Arkham since we're not getting another Arkham game, and the big thing was they showed a scene straight out of the first Batman game with Michael Keaton, and it had this actual Prince song from it, and yeah, it was basically just that. And they showed like gameplay of like working together in co-op and things like that. I'm very excited for this game. This is my biggest game of May. Is there another? Oh, and James Bond too, but because I forgot they delayed it to May. But this is a very anticipated game for me. Very excited. Any comments on this?
very confused why they gave Catwoman a glider. Why wouldn't they just have her use her whip like she does in Arkham City?
Fair enough.
No, if you buy it, I will probably play it. I don't know.
I will
Maybe
buy
we'll
it.
do co-op.
Yeah.
I don't know. If for $70, no way. So I don't know.
I think it's worth it for
I
$70 because just how much content and how big it is and things like
Sure.
that.
I haven't played a Lego game since the Star Wars games when I was younger, much younger, like 20 years ago, younger. So I haven't done much. Can you stop being so loud and noisy? But I'm playing with her. But anyway, yeah, yeah, not a lot to say here. So, baby.
All right, we're gonna conclude with the Mortal Kombat 2 trailer, which the way I view this movie is this is what the first movie should have been. I don't know why they decided to do like a prequel, send everybody's backstory up, and this main character they made up for the movie. Like this is what it should have been from day one. With that said, I still don't like the casting of Johnny Cage. Carl Urban is a great actor, but he's wrongly miscasted here as Johnny Storm. So I'm Johnny Cage. So I that kind of ruins the movie for me a bit. The action looks fun and the characters look accurate, and it might be a fun movie just for that. And it seems like it's going for the gore. It had the gore in it and stuff, so that's what you need for Mortal Kombat. It had all the big villains, of course. So, my expectations are not very high for this movie, but it looks at least like a fun movie. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very like on the fence. I don't expect the masterpiece or anything like that. If at the very least I'm entertained, then I guess I'm happy. But the Johnny Cage casting kind of sours it for me. But like I said, the visuals look good. These are all they look just like the characters. Like it looks straight out of a legit story from the game. They even had Baraka and stuff in it, so that was cool. So we'll see. Any comments on this?
No, video game movies aren't usually my thing. Last one I watched was Detective Pikachu. But yeah, I think I did. I what? No, it was the original. Yeah, I haven't seen any of these. So can't make too many comments.
All right, so let's move on to the Steam Next Fest, which I'll let Dory handle because I don't personally play demos, so I really have no interest in this.
Right.
But Dory, you
Well,
played a bunch, so go ahead.
Seb is a silly sausage. That's actually his full
I
name,
just
Seb Silly Sausage.
I just buy my games. I don't try demos.
Yeah.
I can look at a game and just tell if I like it or not. Like honestly, I've been playing games long
Seb is
enough.
like partially psychic. I don't know if you all know that.
Yeah,
So I played 8 games,
I am.
but I only played I only played the ones that were on my wish list, which was like 8 or 10 games or something like that. So I'm gonna go through this pretty fast. I don't want to make too big of a thing about it. If you want to hear all my thoughts, go to my website, Second Chance and Once More, where I do weekly blogs, and I talked about my Steam Next Fest picks for 2026. So let's start with people of note. So I love demos because situations like this. I'm not a musical person. I don't really vibe with like singing out of nowhere happening. It takes me out of the plot, takes me out of the action. I don't go to Broadway. I'm sorry to all my musical theater friends, but it's just not really for me. Um, so, in even going back to like old school Disney movies from like the 80s and 90s, where like people break into song and stuff like that, I'm like, I don't understand what we're doing here. But that said, I really like People of Note. I thought the turn-based combat was very inventive and fresh. The whole motif, of course, was musicality. So your turns are spent through stanzas. You have to attack on the beat. If you build up enough, damage and stuff like that, you can do a special combo move. You play as this woman named Cadence, who is trying to win the People of Note contest or Noteworthy People contest, whatever it's called. And she teams up with this guy, at least in the demo, named Fret. So yes, there's a lot of musical puns here. One of my favorite musical puns was "System of a Gown." Thought that was great. This game has range. We're not just teasing about pop music. We've got metal, they've got punk, they've got grunge, they've got hardcore. Obviously, there's a System of a Down reference. So these people have really, Iridium Studios have really done their work. And I really liked it. I thought the turn-based combat was very fun and, like I said, inventive. What I did not like was the puzzles. I thought they were very time-consuming, not very interesting or relevant to the plot or characters. They just felt like busy work. Now, luckily, Iridium Studios is a cool studio, and you can just turn off puzzles difficulty and finish it in a second. But I get stubborn about that stuff, so that doesn't always happen for me. But on the last one, I did do it on the last puzzle that I found. And I was glad that I did because it reduced the puzzle to like 2 moves. And then I was done. So that was nice. The soundtrack obviously rips. I don't really even need to say that. If it didn't, it wouldn't be a good game. And the turn-based combat is good. So yeah, I was impressed. It was great. I thought the combat's really the star, but I thought the characters were cool. There's basically like a war going on between a bunch of the genres and stuff, and Cadence has to stop being a self-centered prick because she basically is. She's only interested in stardom. She's not interested in saving the world, right? So she's got that whole "I'm not a hero" thing. So they're playing with that trope, which is fine. And a lot of characters that we love start off as pricks. I mean, look at Kratos, right? A total asshole in the original, but now everybody loves him. And people loved him back then too, but they loved him in spite of the fact that he was an asshole. But anyway, yeah, People of Note, great stuff. All right. Fishbowl. I think Seb and I have covered this once or twice. This is a narrative game dealing with grief. And I just don't have a ton to say here. It was cute, and I loved the pixel style, although the sprite of the main character looked like she was in elementary school, but in fact, she's 21. So go figure that out. But basically, it takes place in COVID. Your grandmother has passed. A lot of her stuff is getting sent to your apartment, and you've got to sort through it and sort through your memories and deal with grief. I played this for about 45 minutes. People of Note went for 2 hours. I wish they had carryover progress, but they kind of skip you ahead in the game where you are, so you don't start at the beginning. But yeah, I liked it, but it was too life simmy for me. So it didn't resonate with me, which again is why I like demos, because I was on the fence on this one, and playing it, I was like, nah, this is like pour tea and make food and do video editing. And it's just like, I don't know. I get you're during the pandemic, but it's just kind of boring to me. Next one I want to talk about is Schrodinger's Call. This is a really stylized visual novel from Japan. It's actually all in Japanese. You are trying to talk to a bunch of people before they die in the like 21 nanoseconds or whatever the fuck you have. I didn't last very long with this. Weirdly, I thought I would love this game. I love the visual style. I love the visual component. The art style is awesome. Everything else, I don't know. It just kind of felt very slow moving, and I didn't feel like my choices were making much difference. This just didn't resonate with me. But it was very cool. I recommend giving the demo a shot, if for nothing else than seeing the visual style. So that was Schrodinger's Call. All right, I'm going to talk about Esoteric Ebb. We've talked about this once or twice. This is the game I was talking about earlier. This is a Dory's Dory game. This is disco-like with D&D, with a D&D combat style, with a very cool art and music groupings going on. Very sardonic, very sarcastic gameplay. I played the entire demo, which doesn't sound long, until you realize that the demo is 5 hours and the dev gave 1/5 of his game away for free, which is nuts. I haven't seen such a long demo since Metaphor Refantasio, and that was like 7 or 9 hours, but that game is like 70 hours, right? Um, this was incredible. I loved every second of it. This touched at the magic that Disco Elysium had back in 2019 for me. Like, and that I couldn't compliment a game much higher than that. I absolutely recommend this game for anybody who loves Disco Elysium, who loves narrative games, who loves D&D. This was so well written. The art style was great, and just the many quests you can do. Basically, the plot is that you are a cleric and you are doing service for your god and for the city to investigate why a tea shop blew up. I don't want to say any more, but that's basically what happened. It's very cool. Go play it. Go play the demo. It's coming out very soon, actually, this week, I think. So very excited. Um, yeah, just great sense of humor. You got a companion, of course. Just really cool. Celestial Return, we've already talked about, so I don't want to take up too much of our time. Burden Street Station, which we've talked about, I think, once. Very weird, artsy fartsy narrative adventure game where you have to discover why a god has gone missing, and before the world that god was supposed to steward over dies. So pretty heavy stuff, but it's a very trippy, funny game. But the gameplay mechanic wasn't really for me. It's kind of rock paper scissors, but you have to figure out like what you have to say to people in order to get their trust. And then I say people, but creatures really. It's a very strange game. You're playing as this angel that sorts books. And one of the books is like doesn't have a memory or a memorable moment that it's based off of. So it's kind of like, trying to go with you to make a memory so it doesn't get destroyed. Again, very strange game. But yeah, the gameplay loop just wasn't for me. You've got to go around, find all these people, and talk to them so you can get memories and stuff like that, and then you can enter their brain, and it's very strange. I know I've said this 5 times, but go play the demo. You'll understand why I keep emphasizing it's so strange. Last 2 games are going to be quick grind survivors. Neat looking roguelike action game that I thought looked cool. I tried playing it. Again, the gameplay kind of let me down, and that's the main thing here. Just shots felt ineffective. The music wasn't turned up at first, so I wasn't particularly locked in at the beginning of playing the game. I just didn't feel a real sense of like changing gameplay or implementing new stuff. But yeah, I mean, it should also go note. It's also worth noting that a lot of the demos I played are like positive or very positive on Steam. So I'm in the minority whenever I say I didn't resonate for me. But that's cool. Wax Heads. We've talked about Wax Heads like twice. I did not like it. I wanted to like it. It's a game about being at a record shop and recommending people what they think they want. I just didn't vibe with it. It's too slow. The inventory, like, it becomes like a puzzle. I didn't like that either. But I love the soundtrack from what I heard, of course, and I love the art style. And I think it has a story to tell, but I couldn't tell you because I only played the first 20 minutes. But it looked like an interesting game. Go check out the demo if you're not Seb and you like playing demos and saving your money, or if you're not a psychic like Seb is, because he knows
I do.
specifically whether I'll like a game or not.
I do.
But yes, he does. But if there's one takeaway from all this, go play Esoteric Ebb. It is now out of nowhere one of my most highly anticipated games of the year. I'm not even kidding. I'm so excited to get lost in that world for another like 25, 20 hours. I'm going to play the shit out of that game. So it's very fun. You fail all the time, of course. I did a bunch of stupid shit, like as the cleric. I think I died once or twice, but for the most part, most of the stupid shit you do doesn't get you killed. So would recommend Esoteric Ebb, if nothing else, from my list. But yeah, that was Steam Next Fest. There was over 3,000 demos, so I was never going to cover all of them, but I covered at least most of the ones off my wish list, which I'm happy with.
Plus, we talked about most of those games already when we did the indie shows.
Yep.
All right, and a lot of those games were already on my wish list, so that's another reason I didn't need to play the demo, because I already seen a lot of those games. Not all of them, but most of them. All right, let's get to the main topic of the night, which is Resident Evil Requiem. The game we said is the most hype game of the first half of the year for us, right? For Dory, is the whole year, right? You said this is your most hype game.
Yeah, I did. It is.
Yeah, so Resident Evil Requiem is Resident Evil 9. It's, the next mainline game in my favorite franchise in video games, and does it live up to the hype? Which we'll talk about it. So what is it? It's a survival horror game. It has very tense exploration, unlimited resources when you're playing as Grace, and classic horror elements. It has really big cinematic set pieces, and it has very intense action focused gameplay. It's like a mix between action survival horror and then old school survival horror. It's kind of like this big jumble of two different games, which we'll talk about. So basically, Leon is infected with a virus, T-virus, and everybody from Raccoon City 30 years later has like this after effect of the T-virus, and it's killing them slowly. And Leon is trying to find a cure for himself, while Grace is an FBI agent, and she has to investigate a hotel where her mother was killed. And this hotel is like shut down, and no one's allowed to go in there. I'm like, why are they sending her by herself? And then she dealt with a traumatic event, and when they're sending this young girl by herself, and she's kind of a klutz, it feels like a mistake. She probably should send a team in there. Anyway, that was one question I had.
Yeah, I had some nitpicks too of that. I mean, I do like the fact that he said, I'm not going to make you go, and it's been 8 years, so there's like some justification, but I agree. Like, why didn't you at least bring the cop in with you, or why didn't you bring other people? Like, a dead guy has been discovered here, and it's a series of murders. It's weird. Also, like, she should have gone back for her gun, but she doesn't. You don't get it back until later. It's just like one of those things. I'm like, Grace, go dive out that window. Like, what are we doing, girl? I'm running as fast as I can.
Yeah, and then no FBI or no government agent went inside the building and found zombies or anything like that. We just didn't bother to check. Like, there were some questions, and then the cop looked like John Cena. Anyway,
didn't even notice that. Okay.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the pros. Grace, let's start with the characters. Grace, she's a wonderful character. She's a great addition to Resident Evil. She feels like a real, genuine person. She's not just some big action hero with one-liners. That's for Leon. She feels like an average person stuck in the real horror, right? She's stuttering. She makes mistakes, and she like barely gets by. Like, she survives on the just barely. She gets by just like sheer luck sometimes. She's not doing crazy moves. She's not running up the walls. She's not saying one-liners. She's like very much scared and has no idea what's going on, and gets thrown into the middle of a big conspiracy between the connections and Umbrella and the whole world and viruses. She's just investigating the hotel, and she ends up being like a whole global conspiracy Leon is exactly the same, right? One-liners, same haircut for 30 years. Only difference is he has a little slight of a beard, and he looks a little older. He's still doing crazy tricks at his age. He gets thrown into the wall.
52.
He could have died like 30 times alone being thrown into the
Yeah.
wall. But he's doing crazy stunts. As you'll, well, Dory's not. I don't think Dory's there yet, but you'll see like very soon. He just is, the game. It gets really over the top. It gets like Resident Evil 4, right? It's Resident Evil 4 Leon. It feels more like Resident Evil 4 Leon than probably 6 did, but even 6 captured that pretty well too. This is like the Leon everybody loves. So the contrast between the action hero Leon and Grace was wonderful, and they did a great job balancing the two. That was one of the biggest strengths of this game. Any comments you want to make about the characters?
Yeah, I love Grace. I think she's a great character. I think you hit the nail on the head that she and Leon are such a good pair. They offset each other very well. I feel like the balance between them is very good. The rapport that they have, such as it is very cool. I love Leon's one-liners. I bet you're the town lumberjack. It's my lucky day. I want a second opinion, of course, which we've already seen from the trailers. He's got a ton of one-liners. I love every single one of them. That man has not changed in 20 years, and
Yeah.
I'm very happy about that. So yeah, he's just a delight. I'm just very happy Leon is back. Yes, it's fan service, but I feel serviced. I feel serviced like by what they are doing here. It is working for me, and like
Yeah.
I can't imagine anyone not liking the way they've done Leon or Grace, I guess to some extent, in this game. I think they're done and they're captured very well as characters.
Yes, I also like the side characters and the main antagonists and things like that. I like Gideon's a good villain. Like his motivations make sense.
I don't know who his voice actor is, but that dude needs a raise. He's got a really good voice.
There's not that many side characters, right? Like, who am I thinking of?
No, there's Harry, but he dies in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. So overall, the character and the writing was good. I had a good time with the characters. The environments are eerie and detailed. This game is gorgeous. When it works correctly, anyway. The ray tracing in this game is insanely good. There's times where it looks like a real life setting. Like, it looks like you're looking at a real hotel. The shadows, the sounds, the lighting, everything in this game just looks phenomenal. So like, this game is one of the prettiest games in the franchise and one of the most prettiest games for ray tracing. And everybody backs that up with people they're like evaluate games for their looks and things like that. This game is very, very pretty. That's one of the strongest points of this game. It's gonna be, the only thing is the PC version took me a couple steps and I had to play around with things to get it to how I wanted it to work. So that was kind of one downside to it. But in terms of like AAA value and like in quality, this game is like top notch. This is like legit, big budget, phenomenal game. Like, not many games reach this level of AAA. Like, obviously, this is the mainline Resident Evil game. It's one of the biggest franchises in the world, and this lives up to it. This game is gorgeous in every aspect of game design and visuals and audio and everything like that. Like, it's just top notch. Any comments?
Yeah, I also had to do some I also had to do some finagling with the settings. Had some minor performance issues at first, but we'll talk about that later. But I mean, when the game purrs, it sings. I mean, it just looks beautiful. I just said fuck it, and I swallowed my pride and I just did the auto settings for performance. And it still looks really good. It looks like a PS5 game. Like I don't know. I don't know what exactly is the difference between some of these settings. Some of them are incredibly minor. There are some guides on YouTube. I recommend looking them up if you really want to fine tune stuff. But eventually I just hit the auto, configure it to my PC specs. But you can do that for quality or performance, which is great. Some accessibility options, which is awesome for visual and for hearing, I believe, and for gameplay. It looks like a beautiful game. It's incredibly detailed. The characters look great. The music is awesome. The environments are amazing. I'm just in love with how this game looks.
Absolutely. So let's start with like the first setting, the hotel. The hotel is such a great setting. It's such a unique, different setting than we've seen in the series.
Keep talking. I'll be right back.
No worries. I like the creature design in this game. I like the zombies being smarter. I love that the zombies were talking, and I like, for example, in the beginning of the game, in the first area, there's a zombie cleaning like the bathroom. The zombie turning the lights back on and off. There's a butcher type enemy, and the zombies were really cool. It was like a upgrade from what we're used to, and that made this game unique in a sense. The zombies later on are like jumping on really high and climbing and chasing you down. Like it's not like the slow moving zombies that we're used to, which would have, I don't know if they would fit tonally in this game if they did the slow zombies, maybe a little bit, but later on it would have been too easy. I was talking about the hotel and the zombies, like the cool concept of having them talk and do like human things, and I thought the butcher zombie was really cool. That was a cool introduction to him.
Yeah,
And
Chop was cool.
and then the big fat zombie that breaks through the wall, which is not a spoiler because that's in the trailer.
Yeah.
That was really cool, and he was a pain in the butt
He really was
to fight.
I had this moment too, and again, this stuff is in the trailer, so not a big deal. But where I was like, "Well, I'm gonna go down the stairs. He can't follow me down the stairs." Thump, thump, thump. Ah, fuck. I definitely had some moments where I was like, "Ah, fuck." Like Seb and I have talked about this already, but I have to relay it on the podcast too. But very very early game when you're playing as Grace, I was coming around a corner into a hallway, and I knew the stalker enemy was coming up soon. I look down the hallway, and there's just this big, huge fucking thing, and I can't tell what the hell it is, just standing there menacingly. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, oh, God. And I'm like, I have to go closer to find out. And it turns out it's just a horse statue. But they absolutely did that on purpose. So fuck you, Capcom. Stop making excellent games I have to play.
Yeah.
But yeah, great moments like that. The stalker enemies in this game are very cool, very fun to work around. They're not a pain in the ass like they are, excuse me, but in Resident Evil 2 Make, I was more frustrated by Mr. X than I was happy with him. Or entertained, I guess, by the process or finding joy in the gameplay loop of avoiding him. But yeah, here I think they balanced it much better. I find it very terrifying, but I don't think I actually died to any of the stalker enemies more than once. So you just got to be careful and cool and calm and collected and other C words.
Yeah, the hag monster was really cool, especially the underground section. That was very intimidating, right? Like the lighting and
yes,
that was really
that was
great.
very good.
Yeah. They did a great job with the stalker enemies. They did a great job with the zombies. There's some issues with enemies, which we'll talk about later on, but overall, like the side bosses were really good. And I like the difference in pacing and gameplay between Grace and Leon. Grace's sections are more stealth based, and they're very similar to Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 2 Remake. She has very limited resources. She doesn't get that many bullets, and she really can't kill the zombies unless you get a lucky headshot. And if they do die, they come back as like Crimson Head like zombies. They get super strong. That reminded me of Resident Evil 1 Remake, of course. And for the most part, you were basically going to shoot them in the leg or shoot them in the head and then run, push them and run. You were not meant to fight them.
The strategy is to kneecap them, push them down to the ground, then run like hell. That's what I did for like the first like few hours. I think it wasn't until I was like hour 6 where I was like, okay, I'm like stocked enough. I can take on these guys if I have to.
Yeah.
But I wasn't trying to. I was very resource guardy with all of my stuff. I ended up having a lot of bullets with Grace by the time I was done.
Yeah. There is a new mechanic with the blood that made it a lot more tolerable, and it was actually a cool feature where you basically stealth on a zombie, you stab them with a blood vial, and they blow up like basically like Blade, right? In the original Blade, was exact mechanic.
It's like an I think it's called the hemolytic injector or something
That's
like
exactly
that.
what it's
But
called.
basically, you stab them. Yeah, you stab them right. I'm being all nerdy and technical, but you basically stab them right in the neck, and like you said, they just blow up
with
like
blood.
a fucking fountain. It's very cool.
Yeah, with blood, special blood, and there's blood all over basically blood spread all over the place, and every time you kill an enemy or like a room will have like a bucket of blood, and you use the blood to create items, right? There's a lot of things you can craft. You can craft like the blood vials that you can use. Basically, you can craft handgun ammo, shotgun ammo, and so on and so forth. So that made it more tolerable. But the beginning section is definitely the most difficult part of this game compared to the rest of the game. The rest of the game is much easier. It's intimidating in the beginning, right? But once you get used to the mechanics, it's not that bad. And then I started flying through the game pretty much after that point. So the beginning was a little tough.
Yeah, as opposed to me, where I had some issues with difficulty with Grace in the beginning, but then after that, I was like, I want to say there was like a point at like the 4 or 5 hour mark where I was like, okay, I'm good. Like, I understand how this works. I've got lots of items. Although the game would always introduce new enemies like the blister heads or a new stalker enemy, or they would do something to throw me off where I'd feel like, okay, I finally have there's a part where Grace is in a basement section, which we talked about earlier with the hag type creature. And I was like, okay, I'm feeling good. Like, they can throw whatever my way. And then, I was still feeling very challenged by it on normal. So I feel like they did a fantastic job balancing the combat.
And I didn't really have to worry about the blister heads because I feel like I didn't have to go to the backtrack that much. So it really didn't affect me.
It didn't affect me that much either because I didn't kill a lot of zombies. The ones I did, I almost put hemolytic injectors in so that they didn't return as blister heads.
Yeah.
I did a lot of running away. I tried not to backtrack, but I'd always find a tool, and I'm like, oh, I gotta apply it over there.
Yeah.
So I scoured that care center. I must have gotten almost everything there.
Yeah.
I think there was a couple of blood blood stuff that I could put in my container. But I mean, I got all the upgrades. I got all the antique coins. I opened all the safes. I mean, I'm not going to claim I did 100%, but I at least did 80 or 90 because that map was looking pretty barren. So, but yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, 100% of the game as well. I liked I thought it was kind of funny how easily you can kill the side bosses with one stab with the blood. That was kind of funny. All that hype, and
I never got a chance to do that. I tried to do it on Chop, but I could never get a good angle on him. I just gave up. Leon and Grace's sections are connected, so you come back to him later, and I took care of him then. But yeah,
that was like a intentional boss. Like you can actually kill him as Grace. It takes like 2 or 3 stabs of the vial, but you can do it.
Oh, okay, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he does die. You get rewarded for it. You also can kill the butcher. Much easier than him, the fat one, but
Chonk, I never killed Chonk. I thought about it, but I was always very precious with my Requiem ammo, so I didn't want to do it.
Did you kill the butcher?
I did kill the butcher, but I killed him as Leon.
Oh, okay. Then I killed the 2 singing zombies as well as Grace.
I killed one of them, and then I did the injector on her so she wouldn't come back because I knew there was a chance she could.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got an antique coin for that.
That was the only time they had that mechanic in there, though, with the singing zombies.
And then it was pretty cool.
Then they introduced. We can talk about Raccoon City because that's in the trailers.
It's in the trailer.
Yeah. But when you go to Raccoon City, it's a completely different game. It definitely feels like a drastic change. It kind of turns into, I want to say open world, but it feels like open area, like a
open hub.
Big hub.
Open area, open hub.
Yeah. And then the zombies are quite different. They're like special zombies that can climb and jump and use guns and then weapons.
It was really funny. I had a moment where the zombie
come out of the ground.
Was trying to climb up on the rubble, and it was trying to get to me, and I was pointing my gun down. I'm like, "Come on, buddy, come on!" And he fell down, and I had to like stifle a laugh. It was so fucking funny. But yeah, the zombies there are definitely more challenging. You even find zombies who can wield guns ineffectually, but they will hit you with like some ammo, and it does fucking hurt. It can take you out if you're not careful. It happened to me like twice. So I actually died way more as Leon than I did as Grace. Not that I've died a ton as Leon, but every now and then I actually got hit by a zombie throwing an object at me, and then I got sent into the fucking Shadow Realm because there was like a hole in the building, and I just got sent down, and I
Yeah.
just fucking died, which I felt was kind of cheap, but it was a little funny too, looking back.
Yeah, I I definitely died more as Leon than Grace because Leon sections have a lot more one-hit kill enemies or mechanics,
Blister heads,
like
yeah, especially.
like the chainsaws that you run into, or like certain side boss that shows up and one hit kills you if it hits you, and things like that. And Leon's obviously more action focused, and this is when the game turns into like Resident Evil 4. And I honestly, once you get to that Raccoon City part, the rest of the game just turns into like a massive action game. It turns into Resident Evil 4 remake. Like the
Yeah,
rest of the game, even the gray
yeah.
sections don't feel like the same as the first section. It feels like the whole game, the rest of the game feels like action focused. And some people might not like that, but I thought it was fine. I thought it was really good. It gets very over the top, typical Resident Evil stuff, and
Yep.
I thought it was a blast. I mean, it was really funny, like Grace having like a small inventory that you have to unlock with packs, and then Leon has a giant ass box where you can fit like 7 guns and a shitload of stuff, and you can upgrade it.
Yeah, by the time I started running out of inventory for Leon, I literally had enough points. This is another great thing I want to talk about too, which I think I don't think we mentioned yet,
No,
and don't have it on the list. But the Leon has this point system when you get to Raccoon City, where the more zombies you kill, it's literally the opposite of Grace. The more zombies you kill, the more points you'll get, the more better off you will be. Whereas with Grace, you want to avoid as much as possible. Obviously, in some situations, you have to fire off a shot. But for the most part, you want to avoid. But with Leon, yeah, you literally get points so you can upgrade, so you can get new weapons, so you can buy ammo.
yeah,
It's really cool. And I love that system. It's very basic, of course. I wish there was a merchant or some kind of callback to a merchant, but they already did that in RE8, so it's not a huge
it's
deal.
essentially a merchant.
And then
It's just a box.
it is essentially a merchant, but it's not. But it's just a box. It's just what's in the box. Uh, Shit, a bunch of shit.
Yeah,
But it's very cool, and you can find little tokens and stuff like that that will give you points as well. I just really dug it. I thought it really encouraged me to like. There's this one section in a warehouse and another section in the sewer where like I didn't have to kill all the zombies, but I wanted to because like I wanted to get those points. I wanted to upgrade
yeah,
my weapons. Now at the point where I'm in, where it's just about like 13 plus hours, I'm almost done with the game, but I haven't quite beaten it. Um, I have pretty much all of my weapons fully upgraded, at least nearly fully upgraded. And I've got all the best versions of the weapons, or at least I think they're the best versions. I presume they are.
yeah,
They seem better than the ones you start with. It's not like Resident Evil 4, where it's like, well, you could take the Broken Butterfly, or you could take the Killer 7, or you could take the Magnum. It's not really like that. There's like two choices, and you should probably, in my opinion, in my experience, maybe Seb knows differently, you should just take one or the other.
yeah. I feel like the newer weapons that you find are better than the previous ones generally.
Yeah.
Um, the gameplay is really fun. Like this game is fun from beginning to end. The Leon sections, especially, all the cool things you can do. The new mechanic with the hatchet was a great mechanic. It was really fun to mix and match. The way you're able to use a chainsaw was awesome. And there's a lot of cool parry moments in this game. You can parry like full on bosses and stuff. And overall, I thought the combat was very fun and tight. Like it just plays extremely well. The camera is good. It feels good to move. The controls are good. Everything just works as intended. This game is fantastic in terms of gameplay. That's like one of the best parts of this game, and this is where a game needs to shine, and that's where this game definitely shines. The Leon sections were on par with Resident Evil 4 remake, which is like the best in the series in terms of gameplay, and this game is basically Resident Evil 4, honestly, just with zombies and other side monsters, like new monsters. Yeah, so we talked about the smarter zombies already. Uh, I felt like I was always rewarded for exploring. I always found more items, key items, and weapons that made my character stronger. Like I feel like I was always progressing as my on my character. I feel like I was always getting stronger. Like my weapons were always getting upgraded. I was always finding new items to use. I always felt like I had a good stock of inventory to use. Even with Grace's sections later on, like I feel like I was always comfortable with what I had. Where in the beginning it was a little more intimidating, and I felt like I couldn't find much. But then as later on, it's like typical Resident Evil, is you get plenty of items and you get rewarded for exploring. It's been the case with the newer games, especially like if you did or it since like day one in Resident Evil, if you did all the 100% of it the whole game, you'll go into the ending like just stacked with ammo and weapons, and the game gets far easier. That's just the way it's designed, and this game was no different. I basically beat every boss on the first try because of the ammo I had and stuff like that, and I had enough health items. This game, I don't want to say this game's easy. I'm just saying, like, on normal difficulty, because I explored everything, I comfortably beat this game pretty fast after a certain point. I felt like I was just flying through the mechanics and not struggling with really anything. You get comfortable with the game, and the only places where I would die would be like which I have some problems with this game, is one shot mechanics where like it doesn't tell you where to go, and then you run in the wrong way and you die in one hit, or you shoot the glass and you fall down to your death, like little environmental deaths like that. But I don't think I ever died from, well, I won't say never. I said like after that point where I was like comfortable with all my ammo and everything, I did pretty much never died from like just a regular fight or a boss fight. It was just like environmental one hit kill fights or events that killed me. So yeah, so you get to the point where if you explore this game, you get rewarded. You have any comments about the exploration?
Yeah, I also really loved the exploration. Similar to Seb, I always felt like I was rewarded for it. Felt like I got a lot of points, or I found one of the many bobbleheads, or I got some ammo, or a grenade, on and on and on. So it was really good. In terms of places I died, there were a couple of late stage parts with Leon that I found a little frustrating. We'll talk about that. But yeah, generally speaking, I didn't die too much as either Leon or Grace. So I felt like it was pretty well balanced. And when I did die, at least most of the time it felt justified. I did die to a blisterhead one shot, which was frustrating because you can't even get your hatchet up. It just completely blocks anything from you and just kills you immediately. At least in my experience, which I found frustrating. I would like it if it was kind of like The Last of Us, where, excuse me, I would like it more if it was like The Last of Us, where like you use up one resource so that you don't insta die, but they decided not to take a page from them on that.
This game was giving me a lot of Last of Us vibes because there were a lot of settings where you're in a sewer and there's like trains and stuff like in the lighting and the way it looked was giving me major Last of Us vibes. And then those enemies that you were talking about reminded me of clickers. So
same, because the clickers can also insta kill.
Yeah.
It definitely reminded me of The Last of Us Part 2, especially just because the gameplay is so crisp and fun, and the zombies are very interesting and
they run,
in their design.
They climb. It's like the zombies in Last of Us.
Yep, they climb and they walk and run and shamble, and there's insta kills like we said. So there's definitely some interesting parallels here between Last of Us Part 2 and this game,
which I find a lot more scary in comparison to like the Ganados or the was it Mangini? I think it was in Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6 with the soldiers. Like I don't find it I think that just turns into Call of Duty. This one we're like it's legit harder because the zombies like full on run at you and try to bite you, and they look like scary zombies. Not that the game ever scared me. I don't think.
And sometimes you can have like a fully
Go ahead.
I was gonna say sometimes you can have a fully upgraded pistol, shoot a zombie in the head, expect it to at least flinch so you can do a melee shot.
Yeah.
Shakes it off and then grabs you. And I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. So these zombies, especially the ones in Raccoon City, are built different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a horror veteran at this point, so there was really no time that I was scared per se. Like there were some intimidating parts where you're tense and you don't know what's gonna pop out, but I don't feel like this game had a lot of jump scares. Like it really wasn't that many. Um, really, what this game was just scary
You know
in
what got me?
terms of the atmosphere. Good.
You know what got me? That fucking lamp. Very early on in the game, where I'm like expecting the stalker any fucking second. I open the closet and a lamp pops out, and it
Oh
mildly
yeah,
scared,
I remember that.
which I'm ashamed to say. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But similar to Seb, I was not. I would say tense, nervous, anxious, but I wouldn't say I was ever scared per se.
yeah. This game,
Definitely very watchful of certain stalker enemies.
yeah,
Definitely intimidated by certain enemies, but I was never like full on like, oh
yeah.
my god.
This was more like Silent Hill 2 remake, where it was like the atmosphere did all the scares, and it wasn't that many jump scares, if at all. All right. The story is full of fan service. Like this game is clearly made for fans more than anyone else. If you're like a new fan to this game series, or like you're just not really a big Resident Evil fan, you just want to like play it because everybody else is talking about it, and you're trying to get invested in the story, you're gonna be so lost because this game is clearly designed for like hardcore fans that have been around for 30 years. Because this game is the culmination of everything. It's like it ties together to the beginning of everything very well, and there's so many moments and lines and references and Easter eggs, hence the name Requiem, uh, to the past games, that this game is going to feel extra special if you get all the references. If you don't get the references and you miss all these things, it's not going to feel as good. So this game is just chock full of fan service in a good way, not like a cheap Disney Star Wars kind of way where it's like, oh, it's a cameo. No, like it legit does a great job calling back to everything. Like I had a big smile on my face
Yeah.
the whole second half of the game. The first half, that's why I told you this game is a tale of two different games. First half, it feels like very original horror game, right? And then the second half is full on Resident Evil. Like we're back to Resident Evil. We're back to like connecting
Yeah.
everything and setting up new stories and closing some stories, and it's like it feels like a different game completely. Once you get the Raccoon City, it's like a completely different game. Um, so just keep that in mind. It's this game story is very hardcore heavy. It's like Avengers Endgame. Like you have to know who Captain America and Thor and Iron Man are, or you're gonna have no idea what's going on. Right? This game is just like that. This is like it just expects you to know who the people are. All right. Finally, my pros is there's plenty of replayability. You can play this game multiple times, right? It's meant to be replayed multiple times. You could beat if you know what you're doing, you can beat this game in about 90 minutes, 2 hours. Now, I beat this game in 15 hours on my first playthrough, and then on my second playthrough, I can beat this game in about 6 to 7 hours. And now, if I really speedrun it, I could probably beat it in like 4 hours or less. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna like try to get a world record or like no like some record or like I'm just gonna get the trophy and then move on in my life. And then I'll play it again here and there throughout the years, like I always do every Resident Evil game. I'll have a Resident Evil marathon or whatever. So this game is meant to be played multiple times. I am disappointed, which we'll talk about. Lack of mercenaries mode or like side content. I'm gonna assume that they're gonna add DLC to this game.
Yeah.
And there's some ending things that I could see leading to a DLC, but I won't say what. Like we can do that for a spoiler cast or something. But
Yeah.
that's one con. It's a pro and a con. The pro is you can play the multiple playthroughs of this game. The cons is this missing side content and some sections of this game drag, and would not want to replay it again. This game is more special than the first playthrough. Than the other ones. So I'm curious how speedrunners are going to handle certain sections. I actually want to see some. I curious how GDQ and things like that are going to run this game.
Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if they just did a Resident Evil 9 second half speed run, because that felt a lot more speedrunner friendly to me than
Yeah.
just doing both parts. But
100%.
I also say that having not completely finished the second part of the game. So the Raccoon City
Yeah,
part,
if you
to be
can,
specific.
if you can speedrun Resident Evil 7, you can speedrun this game. Like, because the first half is like Resident Evil 7, and if you know where you're going, you can definitely speedrun
Yeah.
it. So there's already speedruns that have beaten this game in like less than 2 hours. So it's not, it's already out there on YouTube. As of course there is. All right.
Right.
Any other comments about the pros
So
story?
yeah, let's get into the cons.
Okay, sure.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, pros. I should actually make sure there's nothing else I wanted to say. Uh, yeah, I really think overall this game is a massive win. And it's a to me, at least at this point, I'm very very positive on it. I haven't beaten the game. I've got maybe 2 hours left, maybe a little more. We'll see. Seb says 2.5. I've seen one playthrough. I did not skip ahead. I did not look at the comments. I was very very carefully looked at it because I was curious where I what I had left, and also I was stuck on a certain part, and so I didn't know where the hell to go. That honestly, if we want to transition into cons, that's one of my cons with this game. It's mild, and I'm sure this didn't happen to Seb because he's like a savant when it comes to Resident Evil games. There were like 4 different times in this game I was like, okay, I know what I need to do. I have no idea how to get there or where to go or what to interact with in the environment. Like, for example, like as Grace, there's like a room where you have to like interact with a bunch of objects in very particular ways, but I had no idea that I was supposed to do that, so I just walked around for a good like 5 minutes. And then another part in Raccoon City where you're supposed to get this part to a detonator, and I had absolutely no clue how you were supposed to get up to this big tall building that even Leon said was going to be a fun time to get to, and the game just doesn't do anything. Nobody, your mission helper doesn't say anything. Leon doesn't say anything. The game, I don't know. It
Yeah.
frustrates me sometimes because I must have spent at least 20 minutes in this game so far running around like a dumbass with a chicken or like a chicken with their head off because I couldn't figure out where the fuck to go. So I know that yellow paint is always hated on by gamers or whatever, but I could have used some more yellow paint or something in this game because
Yeah.
the game's just very cryptic sometimes about
Yes.
not what you need to do, but how to get to it.
Yeah. I agree with that. Also, there's also times where you're getting chased by an enemy, and if you get caught, you die one hit, and it doesn't tell you where to go, and you run the
Yeah,
wrong direction, and it's like trial and error. There's several trial and
yeah,
error moments in this game that are somewhat frustrating. Not a huge deal because you reload and checkpoints pretty forgiving and things like that, but yeah, I agree with that. There's some sections and puzzles that are obscure. The puzzles themselves are pretty easy, but like where
yeah.
to go is
I was
obscure.
able to figure them out, so anyone else should. I
Yeah,
will say on the topic of checkpoints, I agree with Seb for the most part that checkpoints are forgiving, but there are portions here and there where you feel like you should be getting a checkpoint. You've made enough
oh, that's
progress,
true.
but the game just doesn't autosave. There's a part where Leon has to deal with some zombies who decided that in their spare times they're going to launch grenades at you,
Yeah,
and it does quite a bit of damage. And there's like 2 parts to this section. And when you get to that second part, closer to the grenade launcher, they just don't give you an autosave. And so
yeah,
if you die, you have to do the whole thing all over again. So these are nitpicks, by the way. These are like little things that bothered me throughout the game. They weren't like game ruiners. I was just like, oh, come on. Like, and I get it. It's Resident Evil, so you shouldn't be able to manually save without a typewriter or a computer or whatever, right? Because that's the series, right? And I accept that. That's fine.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's like, come on, give me better autosaves. You guys are veteran devs.
yeah,
You know how to pace the shit out. Like some of the level design is just fucking excellent in like how it's laid out, especially Raccoon City. So there's just no excuse for some of these checkpoints that they just don't give. But those are my 2 biggest cons that Seb didn't mention. So I just wanted to get ahead of the game, so to speak. Seb, why don't you talk about yours?
Well, I already talked about the PC performance issues. This game needs a patch a little bit for some things. Like you got to play around with the settings. It, I read the comments on Reddit. A lot of people were having issues with the lighting and things like that. It didn't look as pretty as people were hoping. It just seems like a PC problem. So that's like minor things. I turned off ray tracing and it looked great, and I just left it how it was. I put DLSS on, and then never had a problem again for that. So, but it's just there. It just needs a little more patches and cleanup on Capcom's end, personally. Uh, the two big cons for me, besides the stuff Dory talked about, is just the story elements. Although they're not really cons for me, they're like I can see cons for other people. Um, although some of it's a little mixed for me. So like, the story isn't gonna be for everyone. The story is like, I can see the story being confusing for a lot of people because, like, again, this is like the Avengers Endgame, like Resident Evil, where it's like it's building everything in this game is like a combination of the last 30 years into the story. So there's some sections of this game where like, who the hell is Spencer and who's this and who's this organization and who's that. This game is literally a sequel to 7, 8, Resident Evil 1 way back then. It's 2, it's 3. Everything is just jumbled together in fan service, and why this is not a con for me personally, the story's gonna be a little bit like, what's going on to several people. I can see that happening. Like what's going on? I don't really understand this. What makes Gray special? Like that kind of stuff. So that's one problem for it's gonna be for people, and then the second one for me is there's a lot of rehash. In this game, a lot of same locations, a lot of same bosses, a lot of the same enemies. There is a lot of enemies that are like exactly from previous games. I can't even say what because it'd be a spoiler. But if you played Resident Evil 2, it has like so many same people and same enemies, and they rehash like same boss fights and everything. Even the final boss is a rehash of something, which I won't talk about. So this game rehashes a lot of stuff. It's a lot of fan service. Like we all knew we were going back to Raccoon City and RPD that's in the trailer and everything. So I don't really mean that because I think that was great to go back, but it does rehash it though. It's like you can tell like they grabbed the same asset and just made it more apocalyptic, and
they literally played cutscenes from RE2 like
Yeah.
in a flashback. I was like, oh, that's the same game,
yeah,
same model, and then you get an
Yeah.
item that you got in RE2. It's literally the same like
Yeah.
picture, description, everything. Yeah.
yeah. And then this is a nitpick, and it's not a big deal, and it really doesn't mean anything. It's only for like me as a hardcore fan. I've noticed that Capcom has basically wiped out the original timeline of Resident Evil games, like Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 original. Like they've just made the remakes the main timeline. Like this is not Leon from Resident Evil 2 in 1997 or 1998, whatever it was. This is Leon from 2019 Resident Evil 2. You know what I mean? Like the flashbacks they use, as Dory mentioned, was like from Resident Evil 2. Like they didn't even try to show like PS1 Leon. And because
They're not gonna.
they're not never gonna exactly. But the thing is, Resident Evil 2 original has a better storyline than the remake does, and it has different story elements, and like overall it's the same exact story. But I mean, like the way Ada supposedly dies is way more romantic when she's like dying and Leon kisses her as she's dying. Well, in the remake they make just the canon version that she falls to her death like 50 feet and somehow survives. They never explain it. Like the original did it better, and they just basically wiped it out and made the remake timeline the canon timeline. And they did the same thing with Resident Evil 3 now too. So, and this is not Resident Evil remake. This is not Resident Evil 4 Leon from 2005. This is Resident Evil 4 remake from 2020. Was it 2? So this is not the same Leon from the press. This is like remake Leon. So, not a big deal. But I've noticed Capcom doing that. They made that Death Island movie, right? And guess whose character model they used for Jill? The Resident Evil 3 remake Jill. Like they just completely wiped out Resident Evil 5 blonde Jill. They had the same character fate, the face and everything. They just wiped her out and made her the remake Jill. So Capcom has basically wiped out the original games. Not a huge deal because overall the stories are the same and it really gets to the same beats, but for me, I noticed that they've just wiped out the canon timeline.
Doesn't matter to me. Don't care.
Yeah.
But it obviously bothers Seb.
It doesn't really bother me. I just noticed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't.
Well, yeah. It occurs to Seb. It does not occur to me because I barely remember those games. And the most the strongest memory I have is being absolutely enraged at Resident Evil 3 because I kept dying over and over again to Nemesis, who just wouldn't go away. Which obviously is the point of the game, but I was a child, so. But yeah, I don't really have any other cons besides the ones we've talked about. I have a con about my dog; she won't leave me alone.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm in love with the game. I think it's incredible, actually. I'm really close to giving it a 5, but I don't think I'll do it in the end just because of the little things we've talked about, the autosave stuff, the rehashing, like Seb mentioned, the minor performance issues. I think there's too many little things here. I couldn't possibly give it a 5 or a 10, but it's very close. And all the things that I have mentioned that I don't like are very minor, very
Yeah.
nitpicky. I'm having an
If
incredible time. There are times where I get frustrated, but they are in the vast minority, which in a game like this is very impressive. It shows that they balance the challenge level very well, at least in my opinion. So yeah, I'm very happy with what we got overall. I think this is one of the best Resident Evil games. I know I'm not completely done, but unless, and these are faithful words here, given that some people don't like how the game ends for some of the reviews, but unless it absolutely like just does terribly in the last 2 hours, which I don't know, maybe it will. Even then, I would say this is definitely better than 7, better than 2, 3. I wouldn't say it's
yeah.
better than 4. I wouldn't say it's better than 4 Make.
Mm.
But it is. I think it's got to be up there in the top 3 for me. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think
Yeah.
it is better than 8, although not by a ton. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Seb doesn't like that because I talk smack about RE2 Make, but it just didn't vibe with me.
Not because of that. I'm just like thinking like
Okay.
where it is ranked for
Oh,
me.
okay. You're literally humming.
Yeah.
Okay.
But well, the ending's controversial, or it's not it's gonna be divisive to people because it subverts your expectations. It pulls the Last Jedi on people, so it's very 50-50. So just keep that in mind. That I won't say what happens, but there is an element of that that's gonna bother people. With that said, I think this game is incredible. Dory. If I did Dory's scale of 5 stars, it'd be a 5-star game because like my issues are minor issues. It's like a 9.5 for me overall. Like I could make a case that it's like a 9.3 or somewhere in between a 9 and a 9.5, but the main thing is it's a nearly flawless game. The gameplay, the atmosphere, the setting, the characters, the story, everything. I just love everything about it. It's just pure polish. It's a AAA fantastic game. This is as good as it gets in this genre. And where do I rank it among Resident Evil games? Like, well, I'm in a different space than Dory because my top 5 Resident Evil games are like the OG Resident Evil 2 and 3 as well, where Dory doesn't really remember those games. And Resident Evil 2 Remake was my game of the year. Ironically, I might say Resident Evil 4 Remake is better than Resident Evil 2 Remake, but Resident Evil 4 Remake was not my game of the year that year. And it was like my top 3, I think it was, something like that. Because my favorite Resident Evil game of all time is the original Resident Evil 4, which is like my favorite game of all time, period, right? Like, so the point is, I don't know where I rank it right now, but I think it's in the S tier Resident Evil games. This is one of the best games in the series, and I think everybody should play it. I think it's nearly flawless. It's like a 9.5. Let's see what it comes down to. It's like there's some nitpicks that I would. If I have to nitpick a game, then it's nearly flawless. Like, in order for it to be a 10 out of 10, it would have had to had maybe a stronger storyline, some questionable plot moments where I'm like, that really doesn't make any sense. Trying to turn your brain off for some things. Some sections were like really too linear, or some little sections were like confusing where to go. All that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like a masterpiece game of the year easily. It's not Clear Obscure Expedition 33. It's not Elden Ring. It's not Baldur's Gate 3. But this is a game of the year contender. It's going to be in my top 5 most likely. It's in my game of the year right now in March 1st. but like I don't know if it's gonna be my game of the year by the end of the year, but it could be. Like ironically, as much as I love Resident Evil, I've only had one Resident Evil game be my game of the year, and that was Resident Evil 2 back in 2019. Although even retrospectively, I'd probably say Sekiro would have been if I played it back then. Either way, my point is, this game is fantastic. Like it's an amazing experience.
Yeah,
must play, must
yeah,
play.
I agree. And a lot of people agree with us because I don't know if you've seen the store page recently. It is overwhelmingly positive on Steam.
Yeah.
95% of, and get ready for this number, 33,490 user reviews, have rated it positive. So that is awesome. What a huge win. Another huge win for Capcom. I swear, I don't think there's a developer, say what I want about Resident Evil 2 and some fans' criticism about Resident Evil 3. Like you said elsewhere, like if Resident Evil 3 is like the nadir of like, the bottom of this newer, hits for Capcom, like they are doing well. Like it is just hit after hit, banger after banger from Capcom. I was very sure this was going to be a great game. I was not sure how great it was going to be. I would say at this time, when I still have 2 hours left, it would probably go RE4 make this game and then Resident Evil 8 for me. And like Seb said, I don't remember the originals, and I wouldn't go back and play them because I don't like tank controls. And I just feel like the games wouldn't hold up. And then Seb and I just wouldn't be friends anymore. So I just can't have that happen.
I can't even do rankings because like how do you even compare 1997 game to this 2026? And it's like that's why I like tier lists, because tier lists I can put like all the top games in S tier, and I think this is S tier. So I
would agree with that.
Yeah, because I can't. It's hard. How do I put this game over Resident Evil 2 OG, which is like one of my favorite games of all time, and that game is a masterpiece. But like, obviously you can nitpick things there too. It's just no way to do it. But no, if Resident Evil 3 is the worst game in their Resident Evil series since 2017, I'm excluding like the spin-off multiplayer games and all that stuff. We're not counting that. Like, that's incredible because Resident Evil 3 was like a 7 out of 10, and the rest of them were like 9 out of 10. So this game is fantastic. Like, this is a game of the year contender. I think this is going to be top 6 at the Killy Awards. I just don't imagine it. Like, you think about it, you gotta put it this way, right? This is not the highest rated Resident Evil game, of course, on Metacritic, but like because today everybody reviews so much more harshly, and there's so many more reviews. Because if you compare the original Resident Evil games to this one, like there's way more reviews for this one. That it's kind of harder to score higher, honestly. So if you really think about it, getting an 88 or 89 on Metacritic is the equivalent of getting like a 92 back then, because like there's way more scrutiny now. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody's on Reddit. Everybody's on YouTube. Everybody's giving their opinion, right? So it's harder to score higher nowadays, especially when you're a giant franchise. So this is basically the equivalent of a Game of the Year contender. Like, to get it high 80s or low 90s in this market puts you up there. And when I say that, I mean like as a AAA game. Not like, you always get indies that are like a 95 or whatever. Like Blueprints, for example, right? Like that game's like people love it, right? But it's a very niche, small audience. This game is like that, reviewing this well with thousands and thousands and thousands of people playing it and talking about it, right? That's a huge accomplishment for Capcom. So kudos to them. I love it. Now we got Pragmata coming out. We got Onimusha coming out. Like, this is a big year for Capcom. And we got the Monster Hunters game coming out as well, the stories. So, yeah, Capcom's killing it. I'm glad to see them come back. I thought they were in massive trouble back in Resident Evil 6 came out, and they've really turned it around. So good for them.
And even Resident Evil 5 wasn't it wasn't as bad as 6, but it wasn't as positively received. They had that controversy about the framing of the game, especially as the trailer was shown. So it was not going well for them, but they really turned around.
Yeah.
I would, back to what I was saying earlier, I would say that there's no developer like Capcom these days in terms of the big, huge publishers that are just delivering every time quality. The RE engine, great. Their games, great. The DLC choices they make, great. I don't always agree with the side shit that they do. I think that stuff sucks. I don't know why they're doing it. But generally speaking, they are hitting, and they're doing great. So, go play this game. If we have not made that clear by now, go play it. It's an excellent game.
Yep, and now we wait for the Code Veronica remake.
That's right. Seb and I are both equally excited for that game. Equally excited, Seb. Isn't that right?
Absolutely, definitely equal.
I will play it, of course, if they remake it. I will, of course, play it.
Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe we'll get some Resident Evil news later on. Not that Resident Evil 9's out, they can focus on newer games. Not that I'm like spoiled. I'm like I want my new game now. Now I want I demand a new game every year. No. But it's gonna be like 5 years until the next one, I would imagine. And that one's gonna be Resident Evil 10, so they can do something with an X, right?
X gonna give it to you.
All right, that's it. March is going to be a somewhat busy month of games. We'll talk about that later. So I have no idea what we're going to talk about next week. We'll just play it by ear.
I'm going to be talking about Esoteric Ebb, so that's what I'm going to be talking about.
Okay. All right.
So, I think that comes out next. I could be wrong. I could be mixing up my dates, but I believe Esoteric Ebb comes out very soon, March 3rd. But I could be wrong about that. And then there's also the Ninja Gaiden DLC that we could talk about too.
Yeah, the big game for me this week is Scott Pilgrim EX, and we don't care about Marathon. That's the big game this week.
No, thank you, Bungie.
The big games for me is Fatal Frame 2, the remake, Toxic Commando. I keep an eye on.
Yeah.
The WWE game I always get like later on sale. The Monster Hunter game, Stories 3, I'll just wait. Crimson Desert is the big game in March. Crimson Desert is like the game that could be my game of the year. Like that game is like that game. It kind of reminds me of like Dragon's Dogma 2, where it can go either way. Like this game might be a masterpiece and it might be easily game of the year, or it's gonna be like, oh, it was good, but it wasn't as good as the hype. And that's probably where I lean more. Crimson Desert is the big question mark for me. And of course, you got Life is Strange coming out this month. And
oh wow, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so soon. I forgot that was coming out this month.
Yeah. There's a lot more games.
I'm gonna wait on you buying Crimson Desert and see what people think. I might give it a shot, but I haven't really been super hyped about it. But yeah.
Okay. No worries. Yeah, I'm like I said, I don't. This game just feels like too good to be true. But if it,
a lot of people are saying that.
If it sticks the landing though, this might be a real game of the year contender. So we'll see. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. You all have a good night, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. If Seb, by the way, the answer is if Seb was a zombie, he would just be like silently lecturing children. Like, please don't do that. Please listen. Please. Just over and over again. That's what I think anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, bye.
I'd hope Leon would shoot me if that was the case.